Good morning, everybody. I'm José Luis Gabriel, and I'm from Spain. And I'm going to talk about the evaluation of the impact of the CAP measures on soil organic carbon in Spain. But first of all, let me thank the people here in Spain working in the PrepSoil project for the invitation, speaking about that. And I hope that this example of collaboration between science and government could lead to many other projects around Europe doing similar stuffs. First of all, uh, I want to speak a little bit about the importance of the soil organic carbon and why we are speaking about soil organic carbon. Uh, Actually, at this moment, we have many problems of soil degradation, and even the European Commission have identified many factors affecting the soil degradation. And in Spain, we are facing many of them. As you can see, many points are in red, so this means that there are more than one process degrading the soils. One of them is the soil losses, and in Spain we are facing a lot of erosion, not only because air erosion with the wind, but also water erosion, because we are facing many problems with the floods and a lot of storms. So we have a very big problem with the losses, but this is not only important because of the loss of the soil by itself, but also because we are in the top layers of the soil. There are the higher amount of carbon, so the losses of carbon are very high too. And as you can see, Spain have many dark points, so we are losing a lot of carbon. But we are also facing a lot of fertility losses, not only phosphorus or nitrogen, but many other nutrients. This is also important because it have in common with the carbon that the carbon is one of the things in the soil that makes the soil more fertile and can retain more nutrients. So if we are losing carbon, we are also losing nutrients, and if we can increase carbon, for sure we probably can increase also the fertility. So carbon is very important also for that. But we are also facing, as most of you know, a lot of climate change problems, and every degree that the temperature increase, it going to produce a lot of losses in the yields, and you can see that the higher the temperature gets, the higher the losses of the yield can be. And carbon in the soil could be a very important tool, not only for reducing the CO2 in the atmosphere, because if we are increasing the carbon in the soil, we are reducing the carbon in the atmosphere, so we can reduce the climate change, but also for adaptation. So if we have more carbon in the soil, we can retain more water, we can retain more nutrients, as I said before. So we are going to face these problems with more reserves in our soil, so our yield is going to decrease a little bit less. So carbon in the soil could be not only a mitigation tool but also an adaptation tool. So because of that, carbon could be very important. Finally, for the farmers is the most important probably in the short term. we are facing a lot of application in public politics. So there are many directives about the soil protection and restoration, ensuring that they are used sustainably, like the soil monitoring law. But we also are facing many measurements, like the Lucas program that can monitor the carbon in the soil, and also the transcription in the cap, trying to reduce the losses of carbon or even increases in the carbon. So in all the countries, we have many tools or many legislative tools trying to improve the soils and also the carbon sequestration in the soils. And just some magnitudes of the cap. Sorry, because many of the images are going to be in Spanish, but I think the numbers are quite clear, and because of that, I left in Spanish. But 1/3 of the budget of the European Union is dedicated to the CAP, so it's a very important amount of money. And how much is it costs to uh, everyone in the European Union? The number that we are facing is like 31 cents per day per habitant in the European Union. So it's a lot of money. We need to keep that in mind. So CAP need to be very useful in order to improve the health for everybody in the European Union. The budget in Spain for the 2021 to 2027 is more or less like 50 million euros, so 50,000 million euros, so it's a lot of money also in Spain. And this money, or this almost 50,000 million euros, is dedicated in different things, but as you can see, eco schemes here is more or less 1,000 million euros per year, so it's a lot of money. And many of the eco schemes, as we are going to see in Spain, are focused in soil organic carbon, so it's a lot of money also for that, and we need to keep that in mind. Again, this is in Spanish, but the same 9 objectives, the specific objectives that we have in Spain, are the same in all the countries in the European Union. And the 9 are divided in 3 different blocks. One block, that is the economic block, so the people in the farms need fair incomes, need to increase the competitiveness, and also increase the food value chain. So this is one block. The second block, that is the most important for our work, but is also very important for other things, is more focusing climate change, environmental care, and the landscapes, and also biodiversity. And finally, the third block is the block more focused in the rural development, and also the social part of the CAP, and its focus. The 3 objectives are food health. So we need more. We need food that is held without any kind of herbicide or pesticides or whatever, but also we need to focus in rural areas and improve the things for the people living there, because we need to keep that in the towns. And also the generational renewal, that is a very important thing in all Europe, but also here in Spain. So we are, as I tell you, we are going to focus in the environmental, mostly in the action against the climate change. Going down to the eco schemes that we have in Spain, again we have them in Spanish, but I'm going to translate soon. So the seven eco schemes that we have here is one is focusing extensive grazing, another one in direct sowing, leaving cover crops, pruning cover in the soil, also sustainable mowing, crop rotation, and no productive areas. They are defined like that because we wanted to have in Spain at least two eco schemes for each kind of farming. So we have two for grassland, three for woody crops, and another two, three for annual crops. And one of them, this one, is more focused in irrigated lands, but also for other regions. But we can also define them or group them by the objective that we are facing. So low carbon agriculture, these four, but also agroecology for these other three. Of course, as I told you before, we are going to focus in low carbon agriculture. That is the thing that we are facing here. A little bit about the project. This project is focused similarly to one European project, a common European project, and is divided in three working packages evaluating the different indicators. One work package for biodiversity and eco-scheme services, another one more focusing social equity, and the work package 4 that is more focusing soil organic carbon. That is the thing that I want to explain today. But also we have one work package for coordination between the three groups, and another three working package similar to other ones, more focusing in training and quality control, dissemination, and reporting and following results. The three work groups that are facing these different projects are the Natural Museum for Science, that is focusing the biodiversity and ecosystem services, the IEGD, that is more focusing the social equity, and the last one, that is the INEA group, more focusing the soil organic carbon. Just to let you know that the three groups or the three institutes are part from the CSIC, so we are all of them in the same institution. Okay. This is the picture of the kickoff of the project. Here you have the Spanish Minister for Agriculture and also the authorities in the CSIC. This was just one picture for that. What was the design of the project that we are doing for the carbon? Okay. First of all, the Spanish ministry asked us to do this monitoring network in agricultural soil because they want to quantificate the response of the CAP strategies increasing the carbon. That was the main objective. And with that, this project is going to go to the field every 2 years and take samples in plots or in farms applying these techniques, in other farms that are not applying these techniques, and we want to see if these eco schemes are providing the results that we wanted or we planned at the beginning, or the ministry planned at the beginning. Because of that, we defined two objectives. One, to check the spatial temporal variability. So we want to see if Spain, that is a country with many different regions with many different soils and with many different crops, if the eco schemes work in the same way in all of them, or if there are differences, but also if there are changes in the time, because perhaps at the beginning we can sequester a lot of carbon, but after 5 or 10 years the carbon sequestration could be reduced almost to zero or whatever. But we also wanted to see what happens and the contrast between or among crops and management. Okay. For that, we made an stratification for the sampling, and the first layer or level of this stratification was focused in a systematic coverage that was called this first level, but also in a second level more focused in a contrast farm sampling in the same region. We wanted to check for different kind of management of the soil, but also the cultivation system that could be irrigated or rain-fed. That is the most frequent system that we have in Spain. Also, which kind of crop we are facing. It's not the same annual crops that permanent crops. And also if they are applying for a direct aid or not, because they can do the management but not apply for the aid, or in the contrary, apply for the aid but not do so well the technique. Okay. What data sources and tools we have? Okay, the first one and the most important one for us was a form or an interview that the Spanish ministry do every year from the 2005 until today. And in this interview, they have, for every farm that they interview every year, they have the crop characteristics, so not only the crop that they are produced in every farm, but also if it is irrigated, at which kind of irrigation they have, is rain-fed, if they are applying tillage or if they are applying direct sowing. And also, yeah, as I told you, we have the information, yeah, for sure from 2010, but in some cases even longer historical information. So we are not starting from zero, we are starting with all this information in our database. We also have the RSU, that is the database that the Spanish ministry have of every farmer asking for aid in the CAP. So we have information from many years of the people asking for that. And we also have the SIGPAC, that is the geospatial information for every farm in Spain. The size, the form of the plot, and many other factors that are registered in this system. Moving to the first level, we focus in this interview that I told you, that is a CIRSE. Yeah, for that, the Spanish ministry have like 20,000 segments that are visited every year or most of the years. That implies 630,000 farms, so it's a lot of farms in Spain. And the system that they are applying for choosing these segments is basically dividing Spain in 10 by 10 kilometers squares. In each of these 10 by 10 kilometer squares, they divide again in 10 by 10, so the 100 squares of 1 square kilometer each one. And they are going every year to these squares, going to this small one that is like 700 by 700 meter. So in this big square, they are going to make the interview in 3 of them, and but in some cases where the variability is higher, they can go to a 4 or even to a 5 one. So it's an stratified but very repetitive network. So we decide to go to these same segments, but 20,000 segment was quite a lot. So we decided to reduce a little bit more to 8,000 segments, choosing the segments that at least had more than 15% of agricultural inside. So we avoid the cities, we avoid the towns, we avoid forest, so only agricultural lands. And we also go to the segments, or we choose preferentially the segments that were appraised or they have crops appraised by the ministry in these same farms, because information of the potential yield could be also very interesting for our study. Okay, the second level, as I told you, is to try to find contrast farm inside the same segment. So we analyze every farm inside the segment and try to find 2 different farms with the same crop, with the same irrigation or rain-fed system, also with the same crop, but only differing in the soil management, choosing one farm applying this direct sowing or these cover crops or this pruning crop or grazing, extensive grazing, and another one that has not this technique. So in the same climate with practically the same soil, we are going to have just the factor that is being studied. But as at the beginning we don't know if the technician can go inside the farm and take a sample, because the previous interview was just by saying they can go even if they have a wall or whatever. We also included a second pair just in case they can go inside one of that. This is the decision tree that we presented, just in order to choose this pair, including also the representativeness and the size of the farm. But unfortunately, not in all the segment we could find a perfect match. So we organized the decision tree in order to go to different pairs, in order to have representatively globally in all Spain of most of the crops, of most of the irrigation system, but also the techniques. So in some cases we decided to choose better one plot applying the technique, because we don't have many around the region, so we want to know what happened there. But in other case we can choose another crop, because we don't have so many information about this crop in the region. And because of that, you have this table with different situation, okay, and the order of choosing. And the soil sample, we decided to do something similar to Lucas, with these 4 different points, separated 2 meters from the center, and we also take samples in the surface, representative to 0 to 10 centimeters, but also another deeper, representative from 10 to 30 centimeters. We take unaltered rings for bull density with 100 milliliters. And the result is a potential network of 32,000 aggregated samples. So the result of the 8,000 segment by 2 farms every segment and 2 depth per farm. And we also take some zenithal pictures and also a landscape picture just to have a general look of what happened in each point. We also did some formation for the technicians, so we saw different ways to take the ring, just to show them how to take or not to take. And here you have some examples. Some results. Okay, by the moment we couldn't achieve to sample in the 8,000 segments, but in most of them. So at the end we visited 15,892 farms, and this is the representativity around Spain, and the holes that you can see are the forest regions, so or regions with many agricultural mixed with forest, so the representativity of the segment was lower than 15% of agricultural soils. I can say now that 1/3 of the segments present the perfect match of pairs, so that's good and it's really nice, because in this third of the samples we can do this direct relationship among the soil management technique in the increase of organic carbon. But in the contrary, we have another 1/3 of the samples that present the worst match. That means that both farms present exactly the same condition. So the same crop, the same irrigation rain-fed system, but also the same soil management, because we didn't have any variability in the 70 meter by 70 meter square. So it's a pity, but it's the way it is. But anyway, this is going to provide us a lot of filling of the holes that we have in Spain just with this third. And the rest, the other almost a third, are a different combination in between of the previous one. So they have difference, but not a perfect difference for the soil organic carbon. In this case you can see that the purple dots are the grassland and arable lands are most of Spain, but this is the representative of Spain, so we don't have so many grassland, but most of the places are arable. And as you can see, the purple are quite close to the forest, because it's the parts that are in the mountains. So because of that, we have these points here. Here you can see the red dots. In this case, are dots that were impossible to go and take the samples. So we only have points for the green, or we only have information for the green. And these red dots could be because they have a wall and the technician couldn't go inside the farm, or because if you can see many of them are in the grassland, probably they have some cows or some bulls in the farm, so it was impossible to go inside the farm to take the samples. Here you can see the blue dots are the soils that at this moment present at least one of the farm taking one of these direct sowing or cover cropping or extensive grazing. So you can see that in most of the region we have point including these techniques, but in other regions or in many other points we don't have information for this improvement. But on the contrary are the regions that can improve more because they are not applying these techniques at the moment. So it's the way it is. Yeah, all the samples are in the lab at this moment, but not all of them are already analyzed because they started analyzing at the beginning of 2025. But you can see that the green dots are the ones that we have already the information. So we are improving month by month, and we hope at the end of the 2025 to have most of the map filled. And just to show you some very preliminary result, you can see that in this 4,070 and 700 farms analyzed, we can see that not only for goody crops but also for annual crops, we can see that it looks that we already have an improvement in the soil organic carbon. Just to remember, this sampling is in the first years of the eco schemes, but we have the information of ESIRSE of the techniques that they are already doing in the farms. So we choose farms already doing these eco schemes in the previous year. So because of that, I told you at the beginning that we are not starting from zero, so we have previous information. And as I told you, we can see that we have like 3 tons per hectare more of carbon in the farms doing these techniques than in the farms that are not doing these techniques, but also to more or less 2 tons per hectare in the annual crops applying direct sowing. So more or less cover crops and direct sowing could have a similar effect, but as I told you, this is very preliminary results, so we need to keep that in mind. Next steps that we need to take. Yeah, for sure, finish the laboratory analysis. Yes, not only for soil organic carbon but also wood density and stones. Here you have a picture of at the beginning of all the sample that we have kept in this cold and dry building, and they are now in the laboratory but in similar condition. And the estimation of sequestration emission factors by practice and year, because yeah, you know that there are many meta-analysis, many works providing some emission factors, but we need to check that also in actual condition, in farm actual condition, these emission factors are also valid. So we want to check that, and in all the situation of the edapoclimatic regions. Also, we want to apply this result to models and soil cartography for soil organic carbon stocks at national level, but also regional. And not only for the actual condition or the actual map, but also the map providing results if all Spain apply these eco schemes, or if none of the Spanish farm apply these techniques, and which happen if we are closer to the maximum or to the minimum, but also if the techniques are more interesting in some regions or for some crops or for others. We are planning to apply these results to the IPCC inventories and carbon credits, and also for the carbon credits baselines and projects that are going to provide money to the farmers in these cases. Yeah, for sure, we are taking soil samples. That is very expensive, and we are analyzing only bulk density stones and soil organic carbon. But we also are planning to increase the number of parameters analyzed, because yeah, we have the samples, so we want to make much more maps. But we need the money at the moment. But we are keeping some dry samples just to have, just in case in the future we want to analyze. Or for the future samples that is going to start in 6 months or something like that, we can also analyze another parameters. And that's all by my side. I hope this example in Spain could be interesting for the rest of the countries. And anything you need, you have here my email, also my Twitter account, just in case. And that's all. So thank you very much for everything, and I hope this could be nice for you.